Hello and welcome to another episode of the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Carl. This is the show that guides you through the AFCON. We are the business end, we are the last four, and the stakes are even higher. So this is the show you need to help you digest everything concerning the AFCON, pre and post match chit chat, great analysis, interesting conversations around the continent's biggest national team competition. We are live on Citi TV and we are also on channel 363 on DSTV, channel 182 on GoTV. The show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you want to win big during this AFCON through betting, Bet Power is the platform you should be on. They've got the best odds, the biggest winnings, the biggest payouts, great games for you to enjoy if you are a punter, and they are proud sponsors of this particular show. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we have a lot to unpack. It's a rest day in the competition, a day to the semi-finals. We'll talk a lot of numbers today, a lot of stats today, a lot of the science of the AFCON, and we'll have very, very interesting and enlightening conversations for you to enjoy. So do stick and stay. We'll be right back after this break. My guests will be ready, I will be ready, and I hope you will be, to give you another serving of the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Carl. Show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. Shout out to our very good friends in Nigeria who are watching. You know, I got a very interesting message today, and listen, look, if you're watching us in Nigeria, we love you. You are our friends, you are our brothers, you are our cousins. It's your kind. If you win the AFCON, we'll be happy. Nobody hates Nigeria. And somebody will ask me why I'm saying it's important, because I don't want anybody to misinterpret some of the things we do on this show. So if you're watching us from Nigeria, we love you absolutely brilliantly. You are our friends, you are our brothers. It's all jokes, it's all banter. But if Nigeria has to win the AFCON, Nigeria has to win the AFCON. Nothing we say or anybody says can stop Nigeria from winning the AFCON. So shout outs to the people in South Africa. Go Mzansi. We pray that you also do well. What I'd love to see is the Amapiano versus Afrobeats banter. I just love those conversations. I think they are fun. But look, we don't breed any anti-whatever sentiment on the show. It's all jokes, it's all love, it's all banter. We do the best we can. So if somebody's up in their feelings, I'm sorry. Let me welcome my guest. Kwame Safo, how are you doing?
Hello, Nathan.
Edwin Kwakofi, how are you doing?
Hello, Nathan.
Susu Graham is joining us on the Zoom. I haven't seen Susu in a while. Susu, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Alrighty. Today you are with us the long haul because we are doing numbers, data, stats, and that is your thing. Alrighty.
I know why I'm here. Yeah. I know what I have to do.
You know what you have to do. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's start off with the predictions. Now, heading into the competition, stats giant Opta put out a very interesting chart as to who they felt would win the AFCON. I think Senegal were high up there, Morocco were high up there, and some other countries. Ghana was very low, and rightly so. The Black Stars didn't do really, really well in the competition. Now, after many rounds of football, and in the last four, Opta have put out another prediction, giving us who they believe will win the AFCON based on stats and numbers. Let's have a look at what Opta is saying, and it will form the bedrock of our conversation. So Nigeria, amazing. Nigeria are distant front runners, 41.7%. No surprises there. They've played some great football, and it looks like they've cracked the code in terms of how to go through a tournament and win games. Score 1-2 maximum, defend like your life depends on it, and you are most likely to progress further and further into the competition. Cote d'Ivoire is second, 21.2%. I'm quite surprised they are, well, not too surprised, but I thought they would have a lower percentage, because if you look at all the things they've done, there's a lot of determination, hunger, and passion. Great changes by MS5, but it's gotten them here. So 21.2%. DR Congo, 20.4%. And then South Africa, 16.7%. Now, if anybody watched our show yesterday, our very good friend Laurence Koller, he was talking about the fact that the South Africans are happy nonetheless. It doesn't matter what happens to Bafana from this point onwards. They'll be received like heroes. And should they go on and do, quote-unquote, the unimaginable, you can imagine the parties that will be in Joburg, Pretoria, Sandton, wherever it is in South Africa. So those are the Opta numbers in terms of who can potentially win this year's AFCON. Let me start off with Susu. Susu, your thoughts on the Opta predictions? Nigeria front runners. You've got Cote d'Ivoire second, DR Congo, and then South Africa in that order.
I mean, when you look at this competition, it's been about who can keep their defense clean. Because you look at a team like Nigeria. It's been about the defense. I don't think they've scored more than a goal a game. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you look at their
They
stats, they
scored
are
2
very
goals on
solid
one
at the back.
occasion.
Exactly. So they've been very solid at the back. They are very compact. That's what has got them through this tournament. If I remember correctly, their keeper has a 90% save percentage. So of the shots he's faced, he's saved about 90%. So they are keeping everything out. They are difficult to break down. You won't get too many chances. What I do fear for Nigeria is, and in fact, Nigeria also probably create the most chances as well. When you look at the kind of open play chances they've been creating, the problem is that Osimhen has not been firing. He has an XG of about 3, and he's only scored 1 goal. So you look at what they are doing as a team. The chances are there. They are keeping it compact at the back. They are doing everything right, but the ball is just not going into the net as much. So the defense is their real strength right now because their forwards are kind of misfiring. I think Lookman is pulling his weight, but the rest of them are really not doing what they're supposed to do. So I look at Nigeria. If their forwards have one good game, be it the semi-final or the final, I don't see how any other team beats them because of how solid they are at the back. Then you look at Ivory Coast, who basically rode their luck throughout the tournament. If I remember correctly, I don't believe Ivory Coast, apart from the first game they've won, they've not led for more than about 2-3 minutes in any of the games they played after that, if you think about it, because they lost the rest of their group games. Then they went on to play Senegal. They won on penalties. They came from behind, if I remember correctly. Then you come and play Mali. You score an equalizer in the last minute of added time. You score your winner basically in the 9 minutes of extra time. So they are not a team that's particularly solid at the back, but they've scored when it matters. I mean, this is a team that they've scored 5 goals all tournament, if I remember correctly. They've conceded 7. So they don't look too good on paper, but they are getting the results. But I always say when a team is playing like that, their luck has to end at some point, So for me, that's why I just don't see Ivory Coast as credible winners of the tournament. And DRC are a bit up and down. They have some good games, they have some bad games. So they are a bit more interesting. But South Africa are also very solid defensively. I expect the game between Nigeria and South Africa to be very, very cagey, very difficult. But I believe on paper, from what we've seen and on paper, Nigeria are the best team left. And it'd be a very difficult thing for them if they don't win it, because it looks like everything is pointing to them as a winner. All the other contenders have bowed out. So, look, I can understand why the numbers are saying that. My eyes are saying that. Everything is saying that. But we've been watching this tournament where we expected Cote d'Ivoire to go out a long time ago, and they are still here. So anything can happen.
Interesting thoughts from Susu. Guys, your thoughts on Opta's predictions, giving us the likely winners of the AFCON.
I'm yet to... No, it's not even about Opta. From pundits to journalists, I'm yet to find someone who had his top 4 predictions spot on. Before the tournament, we all had top 4 predictions. You might get just one, which is a lot of people predicted Cote d'Ivoire before the tournament.
Okay.
But not even anyone who predicted Cote d'Ivoire did not expect it to pan out this way. Because Cote d'Ivoire, like Frank has said, they are ghosts now. And you cannot taunt ghosts, or you cannot kill that which is already dead.
Yeah.
So with the prediction, I understand why Nigeria would have the highest percentage. I actually think Cote d'Ivoire's percentage is a little bit lower.
Okay.
But
than it should be.
Than it should be.
Okay.
Because I guess that is the science, it's about how they are playing, it's about their XGs and all. But Cote d'Ivoire is playing with this spirit. I don't know how to say, like, there's the home crowd with them. There's the will and determination and the zeal. And after they beat Senegal, surely you would have thought their luck would run out. Mali scores in the 70th minute. They can, and it's unbelievable. What it gives them is this faith, this renewed faith that they can do it like they are indestructible.
Okay.
And that in and of itself, and having the home advantage, gives them a lot. And let's not forget, even though they are not performing, they still have quality. They still have quality throughout. Even with a lot of players missing, a player like Jeremy Boga is not even getting a look in. These are players who can perform at any time. But as a collective, Nigeria has been outstanding. They've conceded just 1 goal in the tournament. And in their first game, I don't think Mwabali was their goalkeeper. I think Thomas Partey's friend, Uzoho, was the goalkeeper in that first game. They didn't have a great game. And they brought in Mwabali from Chippa United. also plays in South Africa. He's not a third goalkeeper in South Africa, though. Also plays in South Africa. And there's just this aura about him. He started in the Cote d'Ivoire game.
He's had 4 out of 5 clean sheets.
Yes,
Four
and there's
clean sheets
just
in
that
5.
aura. He's been able to not be very good as a goalkeeper, but the back line, he's been able to dictate his back line, and everything has gone on. It shows that just a change can change it. Because against Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria's defense was not impressive. Equatorial Guinea could have scored more than 1 goal. They conceded just 1, came out with a 1-1 draw. Very lucky to have come out with a 1-1 draw. But after that game, from the Cote d'Ivoire game to the Guinea-Bissau game, they found a way to grind out draws. Their goalkeeper has been, if you trust your goalkeeper defensively, you'll be good in shape. So the only problem with the Nigeria team pre-tournament, because I clearly remember listening to this show, it was not this show, but one of the media houses, Ghanaian media houses, before the AFCON tournament. And they had a Nigerian journalist and a Ghanaian journalist. I promise you, the Nigerians didn't have hope in their team. Wow. They didn't have faith in their coach. They didn't have faith in their players. And they had lost to Guinea. They didn't have faith in their team. And they had missed out on players like this midfielder, Ndidi.
Yes,
they had missed out on Ndidi. They had missed out on Victor Boniface. They didn't have hope in that team. But there's just something that if the midfield is not doing, a player like Onyeka walks in, makes it solid. Defensively, they are very good. And I know they don't want to talk about Sanusi, so I'll just say Calvin Bassey is giving them something good on the flanks. Victor Osimhen might not be prolific, but the damage he causes defense. Yesterday we were highlighting it on the show about the Angola, how he takes all the attention and then frees up people like Lukman to perform, frees up Moses Simon to perform. It's very understandable and it's very right that Nigeria will have the highest percentage, but I feel it should be very close with Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay.
I mean, Congo is good, but we all know Congo has won just 1 game at this tournament, and their game against Guinea. Personally, yesterday I was watching the show. I think we are not called. Yeah, you guys didn't even call out the Guinea goalkeeper out a lot. I feel like the first goal on his first post, he shouldn't be giving away that goal. Yes, Masuaku has scored this kind of technique, but as a goalkeeper, these are things you should be alert to. You don't rush when the ball, you don't anticipate the ball before it's being kicked like that. So I think Guinea had themselves to blame. They gave away a cheap penalty too. So, I mean, Congo, yeah, I like them. I like their goal celebration. I like their team a lot. Dramatic. But I think even percentage-wise, South Africa should be above Congo. Why am I saying that? Yes, South Africa had a bad game against Cape Verde. Cape Verde was the better side. But Cape Verde was tipped by most people after their first 2 games to be one of the best teams in this tournament. So I understand that. I see South Africa's performance against Morocco, and they're a team who, on their day, can hold their own. They are also the second best team who have kept a lot of clean sheets. So I think comparative-wise, it should be Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, Congo.
Okay.
But like Susu said, I was listening to ESPN this morning. They were talking about the AFCON, and they're like, they don't think everyone will predict will be the people to be beat, because this African Cup is one of the craziest ever. So we could end up having a DR Congo South Africa final, and I won't bat an eyelid.
Okay, all right. Let's have a look at the other bit that Opta has got to share. They've kind of predicted who will win the semi-final, and okay, I see that's quite interesting there. So they predict a 65.8% in terms of win percentage, really, for Nigeria against, and then the rest, 30 plus, 31 plus, or 35 plus percent is for South Africa. The other semi-final, so they predict a 48.3% win for La Côte d'Ivoire, and then the rest they predict for DR Congo. Edwin, let me get your thoughts on this. These are, of course, based on a number of things, everything that's happened so far. You throw all of those numbers into a blender, shake it, and this is what you get.
Look, on the basis of what we've seen so far at the AFCON, Nigeria absolutely deserve to be favourites.
Yeah.
On paper, I would have felt that South Africa would have a higher percentage. But you can tell why South Africa have the lowest percentage. Everyone expects Nigeria to win that semi-final. Once Nigeria wins it, South Africa have no chance of winning the AFCON. That's why they have such a low percentage.
Okay.
So you can tell who they predict will win each of the semi-finals based on where the teams are positioned. I think that starting from the bottom, South Africa have had a fantastic tournament. Defensively wise, aside the Mali game in the opening round of games, they've been really, really solid. I think they've grown into the tournament offensively as well. The players are starting to, gel with each other chemistry-wise, passing. It's been superb from that Mali game. Even in that Mali game, there were moments, there were sequences in the game where you could tell that this was a team that had something special about it. How they moved the ball around, how they were able to move quickly from defensive situations into offense in a matter of a couple of passes, 3 passes, and they are in your penalty box. That is something I've always treasured in football, how teams are able to move quickly from defense into attack. And this South African team has shown in several games that they can do it. So they've been very impressive for me. Them being underdogs will play right into their hands. I'm sure the players will be looking at the numbers and laughing at themselves because they know how good they are, they know how good they can be, and they will certainly cause Nigeria a couple of problems in that semi-final. Whether they'll win it, I'm not too sure about that, but it's not going to be a blowout. And none of the games so far, maybe you could say the DRC Guinea one was probably a blowout, but I don't think any of the other games has been a blowout. Teams have gone for it, and I expect South Africa to do the same against Nigeria. With DRC, they've been very, very good. How they've approached games, they've understood their opponents. They know when they have to defend. Against Egypt, you are coming up against Egypt. You know that, okay, you are going to be under the cosh for much of the game. Defend, take your chances, ensure that you are tight at the back, and they were exactly that. In the group stages, they were really solid as well. Came up against Morocco in the group stages, were brilliant in the game. I'm still surprised they did not pick up all 3 points. So they've shown throughout the tournament that they can be a solid side when they need to be, but they are also resilient.
Of course, they've had to come back.
They've had to come back a couple of times. That Egypt game was superb.
I mean, the Egypt game was the only one they left.
They left
because they came back against Morocco.
But
came back against
usually, and one of our colleagues has said it. Usually, when a team comes from behind or equalizes before a penalty shootout, they have the momentum. So to be able to keep their heads and not lose it after the equalizer they conceded, that was very good on their part. On the topic of resilience, the most resilient team at the tournament has been the Ivory Coast. Seeing them up there, second behind Nigeria, is a bit of a surprise, considering, as Susu said, and he enumerated their problems pretty clearly. They are a team that is not as solid as the others in the semi-finals. Okay. They've only led, as he said, for about 5 to 10 minutes, and that was in the game against Mali that they won. They've conceded quite a number of goals. They fall apart very easily, especially in that final game against Equatorial Guinea. They conceded, the pressure got to them, they fell apart. I think it's improved because the fans are starting to believe a lot, getting on their side. The players themselves are starting to believe. They believe they have nothing to lose, so they are going into every game, or they are going into every game for the long haul, 90 minutes. They still go at it because they feel a miracle can come out of it. So this is a team with luck, with fortune, with probably the home fans on their side. So they are going to cause a problem. I think that the semi-final might be the end for them in terms of how they progress against DRC. I don't see them progressing against DRC But we've said they will not progress against Senegal. We said they will not progress against Mali, and they made it through. So who knows? I might be wrong again. They might get to the final and eventually win it. But on Nigeria's part, they have the most balanced squad out of every single team left in the competition. Attacking wise, brilliant side. In midfield, a little shaky, but I think they make up for it in terms of hard work, in terms of desire and commitment. Okay. In defense, they might not stand out as the biggest names, but they've shown in this tournament that they are willing to work for the team. Nwabili, who has been in Nigeria's goal for the last few games, has been superb. And against Angola, he's the one who kept them in the game. A wonderful save to keep out Angola in the first half, and some other good saves in the second half to keep out Mabululu and a couple others. In the Ivory Coast game, the group stages, he made a wonderful save from Fofana as well. So he's not been just the defense marshaller. He's actually stood up for Nigeria when they needed him to, when the defense has been breached. And that's what you need, a goalkeeper that you can trust. That's what every defense wants behind them. If they know that even if they are breached, their goalkeeper will be there to save them in the worst of scenarios. And to have a balanced squad like that, even with Osimhen not firing on all cylinders, he's still working hard for the team. And imagine if he starts scoring goals. That's basically what Nigeria are missing right now. The goal threat of Osimhen. Lookman has been fantastic. Moses Simon, since he got into the starting lineup, has been brilliant. They've supported him well. And he's worked as the anchor between the two of those two players, the anchor of the front line for Nigeria. And I think they deserve to be called favorites for the tournament as it stands.
All right, let me get back to Susu. Susu, all these things, these numbers, predictions, the stats and everything, how significant are they? Do they point us in the direction that these things are likely to happen, or they are just premised on the numbers? That's what the numbers say, so that is what we'll get.
I mean, you only know what's happened before. You don't know anything that will happen in the future. So, I mean, it's an amalgamation of everything we've seen, just put in number form. It's not any extreme thing. We've all seen Cote d'Ivoire, and we are not convinced by them, which is why they are not favorites in that way. In another scenario, let's say Cote d'Ivoire have won every game. They are winning 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. They are difficult to break down. Their percentage would be higher. I think it's just based on what we've seen. The significance is this team has been convincing in this way. This team has not been convincing. So in terms of the numbers, it's significant to say who has played well in the past. But like we always know, football is played on the pitch. So your best player can get an injury in the second minute. Your keeper can get a red card in the third minute. Anything can happen in the game. So the predictions are indicative. They tell you something. But I believe in a tournament where you've only played, 5 games so far?
Yeah,
if I
5 so
correct
far,
me if I'm wrong. 5 games. The statistical significance is not as strong because remember, 5 games is not enough to give you a strong sample. If you're looking at this kind of data for a league match where you've played 20-something games, it's a bit stronger in that sense. So the stats are significant, but there's a lot of uncertainty because of what we've seen in the past and the kind of things that have happened. So we have to take it with a pinch of salt, but we also have to understand that the stats themselves, there's no agenda. They are just working based on things that have happened in the past. So I think we have to look at it 2 ways. It's very objective. There's no agenda. There's no kind of, someone trying to push a narrative. But there's also the fact that these stats is 5 games. If I looked at 5 games, I wouldn't look at 5 games and tell you that it will give me a certain conclusion of a player or of a team. It doesn't work like that.
But it's 5 games out of a 7-game tournament. So maybe that's the context we can add. I don't know whether that helps.
I guess. But, as we always say, tournament football and, kind of league football are very different animals. They are played differently. The kind of things that make you successful are different, So, because in a tournament like this, all you need is not concede. That's more important than, let's say, in a league where you consistently need to be scoring goals. Because remember, in the league, a draw is 2 points lost compared to a win. So those type of things are what we have to look out for. So it's played slightly differently, but I think the statistical significance should just tell you that this team has been good. This team has proven their quality over the course of the tournament. So if you are someone who believes that it's about consistency and that kind of thing. It's about the way you've played. You can look at the stats and be very sure of them. But if you're someone who believes that football is completely, it's about the moment and that kind of stuff, ignore the stats. And that's okay. It's not for everybody.
All right. Interesting stuff there coming from Susu Graham. This is the AFCON Daily Show probably brought to us by Bet Power. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we look at the goal scorers, the men. A lot of us love. Some people love midfielders, others love defenders. But personally, I love goal scorers as well. So we'll look at the goal scorers, we'll look at their numbers, their performances, and what they've done so far in the 2023 AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Crash, proudly brought to us by Bet Power. My guests are still here. Kwame Safo, Edwin Kwakofi, Susu Graham is still joining us on the Zoom. So before the break, I was talking about goal scorers. Well, a point of correction, we'll talk about the goal scorers for the teams that are still alive in the competition. That's for the teams that have gone home. Well, they've gone home. But yeah, we'll talk about the goal scorers in the teams that are still in the competition. So 4 teams left: Nigeria, South Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, and DR Congo. Out of these countries, we'll have a winner, a new winner of the AFCON come the end of the competition. Like I said, Edwin Kwakofi is on the touch screen. We'll talk about what the guys have done. But let's start off with Crasso, Jean-Marc Crasso of La Côte d'Ivoire. Jean-Philippe Crasso, sorry, of Côte d'Ivoire. So his number, he has 1 goal, 1 very good goal, I must add. Acrobatic effort, 7 shots. Non-penalty XG 0.6. So, of course, if you look at the goal he scored in retrospect, it's about 0.6. 0 big chances missed, 0 assists. So, that's what he has done so far in the competition for Cote d'Ivoire. And 1 goal. Safo, just quick thoughts on him. It looks like after the first game, he's not really coming to it.
He didn't even get a start into the second game and the third. From Equatorial Guinea's game, I think he came off the bench. And he didn't even play the Mali game. I think he's a bit injured.
Okay.
I don't know whether he would be available for the third game. But either way, you see, that's the beauty about this Ivorian team. I think the goals come from all angles. They come from, because these are their goal scorers. Seko Fofana scored the first goal, then Crasso scored the second goal. They couldn't score against Nigeria. They couldn't score, but Crasso scored a goal that was disallowed. A very good goal that was disallowed. Against Cote d'Ivoire, scored a penalty through Kesse. In Mali's game, Adingra and their Kite are them. So the goals have been all over. It has not been centered on a particular strike. So and if you look at their attack, the players you would have expected to get the goals for you are Kwame, Pepe, then Crasso.
And Ale.
But Sebastien Ale is not fit. And when Sebastien Ale comes on, the things he does, he's not giving you the arrowhead kind of job. He's more of like taking on players, like being very physical, being very imposing in the box, and it allows other players to move. He's doing something like what Osimhen is doing, except he does not get as many chances as Osimhen does. So, I mean, the stats do not lie. And just like Susu said, statistics are basically an amalgamation of things that happened in the past to be able to predict what might happen in the future.
Yeah.
So, looking at that, I don't think Crasso has had a brilliant tournament. Individually, when you look at the Ivorian team, if I'm to pick people, bar Seko Fofana, I don't think any Ivorian player is having a brilliant tournament individually.
Okay.
As a team, they are having one of them, an unbelievable tournament. But individually, they've not had any player stand out individually, bar say Seko Fofana, that this person is doing well. So the stats speak for themselves. 1 goal. I would have loved to get the minutes or games he had played, so we could have made that juxtaposition. But I would think it's 1 goal in like 3 games, which he started full time.
Okay. Susu, your thoughts on Jean-Philippe Crasso? Just 1 goal in the competition so far. In terms of the numbers, they don't look impressive. But what have you made of his all-round contribution to the Ivorian team?
Well, Safo has really said it all. He's played about 3 games. They've kind of rotated in and out of their strikers. Kwame started the last game, I believe. He would have started the semi-final most likely, but he's suspended, which is why we kind of didn't feature him in this statistical thing.
Okay.
So look, like Safu said, the Ivory Coast, they've not really had someone they've not had a goal scorer take the mantle up and make things happen. The person who's taking the most shots in their team is Fofana. He's doing this from midfield. He's kind of powering them for it, trying to take it. But you see, he's shooting a lot from range, a lot of long shots. So you don't expect him to, accrue a high XG with the type of chances he takes. So that's just to be expected. So yeah, there's not really an Ivorian player who's kind of they are feeding and getting a lot of chances. You expect to kind of finish a lot of chances. So that is a problem in the sense that in a game like this, sometimes you want someone you can rely on to give the ball, but at the same time, it gives you that unpredictability. The teams can't really focus on one person and think that this guy is the guy we kind of have to stop, because anyone can come up with a goal. So it's a very interesting kind of conundrum they have there, a kind of dilemma it gives the defense. Do we focus on this guy who's, the number 9, who we expect to score, but we know he's not playing that well, or do we focus on stopping the team as a whole? So it's a very interesting position they're in. But I believe the fact that they are not creating chances for one player, though, is worrying. I believe we should be able to see that at least the chances are going somewhere.
Okay.
It's a bit disappointing that they can't find someone who they can consistently get chances. Because if you play 3 matches and get an XG of 0.6,
okay,
it really means they're not making much for you. And the big chances missed is 0 because the big chances he's had are 0. So, it's a difficult one.
All right, we'll see what happens to we'll see what happens to Jean-Philippe Crasso. We'll see whether he gets games. Let's move on to the other forward in the competition, one who I can say is walked into this competition with the biggest reputation, Napoli's Victor Osimhen. And his numbers, he's had 1 goal, 19 shots. 19 shots. A 3.09 non-penalty XG. So that's really the value of the chances he's put away, or not put away, let me put it that way. 5 big chances missed, 1 assist. And I suspect that assist came against Cameroon, his assist to Ademola Lookman there. And so really, in terms of numbers, that's how Victor Osimhen is looking at. We'll be getting to the touchpad in a bit there. So let me come back to you. Your thoughts on Victor Osimhen? I'm sure from a numbers perspective, you were expecting the goal count to probably reach 5 or 6 by now, but it's only 1 in 5 games.
Yeah, and the XG alone should tell you the chances that have come his way. 5 big chances missed. It's the most in the competition. 19 shots, most in the competition. And he's only put 4 on target. It's very disappointing, and this is a player we expect a lot from usually. He has the reputation for a reason. This is a very good striker, but it just hasn't come on for him. And I remember in the group stage, when the group stage started, you see all these clips of a chance will come and then Nigeria, like you're on social media scrolling, and Osimhen has completely fluffed the chance. And I feel a bit bad for him because people are watching this AFCON. There's a lot of interest in this AFCON. It's an international tournament. It's in the middle of the season. People who might not necessarily watch Syria are now watching you play for your country. And you've been fairly disappointing, But that's the thing about Osimhen. We know that he's a great player. He works hard. He occupies defenders. So there's some value there. He's definitely going to give you value whether he's scoring or not. But it's just disappointing how his finishing seems to have deserted him in this competition. But look, they've got to the semi-final. And if he finds his finishing touch in this game and the final, it will be enough. They've gotten here without him, and he can always find his finishing touch, because remember, the thing about things like this is more often than not with good players, they regress. Someone like him, he will regress to the mean if he's given more time. But that's, again, the danger of the 7-game tournament. Will there be enough time for him to kind of, make up for the lost XG to kind of meet in the mean? Would there be enough time? That's what I'm not sure of. But the fact that he's getting those chances for me is a good sign. That means he's getting to the right positions. The team is creating chances. It's up to him to finish. And that's the thing about strikers. We know how they are. They can miss a few, but then one can just go in. And then it's like what they say is the ketchup principle. You have to kind of shake the ketchup bottle, hit the bottom to kind of get it flowing. And then once it comes out, everything comes out. So, when you think of strikers like that, him missing chances, he's getting the chances. That's a good sign. But missing them is a bit worrying. But there's still 2 games potentially. So I'm not too worried for now because the defense is their strength. So if he just takes one chance in the next game, they should be fine.
All right, we'll see if Victor Osimhen will give us a lot more goals. Like Susu Graham is saying, if the ketchup will start flowing for Victor Osimhen. Let's get to the touch part. Edwin Kwakofi. Edwin, we've seen Osimhen across 5 games. What are some of the things you've picked up by watching him and watching him play for Nigeria and doing his stuff?
Look, as Susu said, it's a bit worrying to see someone who's supposed to be the best striker on the continent miss the chances he's been giving. But the fact that, and Susu mentioned this as well, the fact that he's getting into these positions is very important as well. I like to pick out this moment from the game between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea. That was the first game of the AFCON for Nigeria. So here's Iwobi with the ball. Let me highlight Victor Osimhen, who is in green, so we'll make it green. Here's Victor Osimhen right here, right in front of the centre-backs, right between them. Here he makes the run. He expects Iwobi to find him with the pass, so he makes the run. That is fantastic movement from a centre-forward. That is what you want from your centre-forward. So he understands his role. He gets into the right positions, then we play it on. He makes the run immediately, takes out the defenders. He's onside, but he fails to finish. And this is down to how he positions his body. We talked about body positioning yesterday. He doesn't angle himself enough to be able to get the curl. So his best option right here, his best option is to go for the far post. In our instance, near post for him. He decides to go for the far post. If he had angled himself better, say he was positioned here. Say he was positioned somewhere here. He had angled his body in this direction here. He will be able to get enough of an angle to put in the curl into the far post right here. However, he's unable to do it. He sees that the goalkeeper will have a better opportunity of saving it, or he might not even hit that far post instead. That's good instincts for a striker. However, the finish from him was not good enough. That we have to understand. But you can see the instincts are there. You can see the movements there, the positioning there. And this is just one instance. We can point to several instances where he's been in the right position. The last game Nigeria played against Angola, it was late in the game. He was knackered. You could tell that he was very tired. It was a counter for Nigeria, but he still managed to make the run in between centre-backs. You could tell that if it had been earlier in the game, there would have been a lot more power to complete that run. He still managed to get the shot and was unlucky to be denied. But as Susu said, the worst thing for a striker is if you're not scoring goals, you are useless for your team. And that is far away from what Osimhen provides for this Nigeria team. And we go to the game against Cameroon. No danger here from the throw for Cameroon. There's absolutely no danger. Yeah, what he does, what he gives you is work rate, efficiency. He runs to the defender and covers him. That's good for a striker who leads your press. That means other players can follow him. And this is the trust that he has from his teammates. Take a look at Ademola Lookman here. The moment Osimhen starts the run, he trusts that Osimhen will be able to get there because of his huge strides. He has some speed to him and his strength. He's definitely going to challenge the defender.
Okay.
So Lookman immediately makes the run forward. Other players, defenders, are slow to react because they feel there's no danger. Nobody is making any sort of move towards the ball because they feel there's no danger. Lookman immediately makes the run. He trusts his player. He knows his striker. He knows what he can do. So Osimhen over here, he gets the ball. Poor defending from the player, but he gets the ball in a position where, let's go back slightly, in a position where for a striker who has not scored a goal or scored a goal in the previous game, you'd expect him to take the shot. After his miss in the previous game, you'd expect him to take the shot. He certainly has the quality to take the shot. And from this angle, taking the shot is not impossible. The goalkeeper is well off his line. A good strike on this could end up in the back of the net. So there's no problem here. But we've talked again consistently about low and high percentage efforts for teams. He realizes that Lookman is making a move towards the goal. He realizes the gap between these two defenders right here. There's so much space for him to put the ball into Lookman. So he realizes the best option is to pass into Lookman, who has a clear shot on goal. And that is exactly what he does. So that's his only assist for the tournament, but it was pretty brilliant from him. His work rate to chase after the ball, not giving up on it, to win the ball, and then the presence of mind not to shoot, but to find his teammates. That's absolutely brilliant. And that goes to show that he actually does something for this Nigerian team. Okay. As a striker, you don't want to be useless. You don't want to be someone who is seen as just adding up to the numbers. You want to be effective. You want to impact the games. And Osimhen absolutely does that. That's why, despite his struggles in front of goal, he is undroppable for the Nigerian team. He's the first person on the list. Firstly, because of his threats. Secondly, because of his work rate. And thirdly, because he wants to work for the team. That is what you want from your centre forward, even though they are not scoring goals. So he's been not at his best at this tournament, but you can tell that there's still something about him that will carry Nigeria forward if he plays at his best.
Victor Osimhen doing big things for Nigeria on the assist and hard working side. Like we've established, I mean, he may have only one goal, but he's worked really hard. Let's move on to another forward who's still in the competition at the last four. Yohan Wissa. Yohan Wissa plays for DR Congo, plays for Brentford in the Premier League. He's had 2 goals from 17 shots, a non-penalty XG of 2.10, 1 big chance missed, and 0 assists. He's yet to set up a goal for his teammates, I believe. I'm not too sure. I would have credited him with the first goal against Egypt.
Egypt, yes.
DRC,
it was his assist,
his
cross for Elia to score.
Right, so that number should read 1 assist. But Kwame Safi, your thoughts on Yohan Wissa?
I think if you watch the way Wissa plays in Brentford and you watch the way Wissa plays in Congo, it kind of gives me this Michael Essien vibe. You know, in Chelsea, Essien was more of defensive. In Ghana, he was more of he gave a little bit of an attacking spice to it. You've watched Wissa at Brentford. He's trying to get the goals. But playing for Congo, in as much as he is a forward, he tries to be a playmaker too as well. He works so hard for the team. So he's not your out and out number 9. I feel like the reason why we are seeing these low numbers coming from the supposed strikers are most of them are trying to do so much.
Okay.
They are not just scoring. They are trying to work on the field. They are trying to create a lot because the second Wissa goal was through a penalty against Guinea.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be convincing enough for a player of his caliber. You would expect that if you are playing the likes of Tanzania, if you are playing the likes of Zambia, these are matches where, like you are supposed to start part and make a lot of assists and goals, but it's not coming for them, and that's tournament football. You see, someone asked this question about how many of the African greats in Europe who come to AFCON and then they tear the AFCON apart. The last player who can come in mind is, say, a Samuel Eto'o,
okay,
who could perform on the international stage and come to the AFCON and tear it apart. Even the likes of Mo Salah do not set the AFCON ablaze when they come, and that's the difficulty of it's a tournament. So, and it's not an individual thing. It's about if you're not giving us the output, how efficient can you be for the team? How can you assist? Just don't be useless. Don't be walking through the game and be giving no end product. So I think that because at the end of the day, you have players like Insue, Mabululu scoring 4, 3, 5. I mean, where are they now? They are no longer in the competition. So, I mean, I think the stats are not, and that's my problem with statistics. They do not capture the eye test. They do not meet the eye test because you see Wissa's numbers and like.
I mean, of course. I mean, I guess if you looked at the numbers by themselves, you would say that yes.
In the eye test, you watch Wissa's game, you watch his movement, you watch how influential he is for the team. You would say he's been impressive in the tournament.
Okay, all right. DR Congo's Yohan Wissa doing well there. Let me get back to the Zoom. Let me ask Susu Graham his thoughts on Yohan Wissa. We usually see him play for Brentford. What have you made of his contribution to the Congolese team now that they are in the last 4 of the tournament?
I just want to clarify the assist thing because the Egyptian player kind of deflected it before his teammate headed it. It wasn't counted as an assist. So
I see.
I understand what you're saying. It was clear that it was his kind of like he basically assisted it, but when it kind of deflects, sometimes it doesn't always get counted. They have their ways of kind of calculating those things. I'm not to me, I just read the numbers. I don't know how they read the numbers. I just read them. So no, like Safu said, look, it's not everything that you can put down because we're only talking more about the shots and the finishing and that kind of stuff. That's more what we are focusing on here. I'm sure if you were to look at some stats when it comes to maybe chance creation, pressures, dribbles, there's all sorts of stats you can look at because Wissa has made 18 dribble attempts in the tournament. That's one of the higher numbers you see. So you can look at different things to see what a player is offering, and there's always a number for what you are looking for, just but we are focusing more on the finishing and that kind of stuff. And it looks like we said, a lot of the teams here are not too prolific in terms of their goal scoring, because even Wissa, we're looking at the non-penalty XG of 2. But remember, one of his goals is a penalty. So if you really look at the non-penalty XG and the goals, it's really one from a non-penalty XG of 2, more like, you see. So it looks like really the chances are coming. He is someone who's actually getting chances. He's not really taking them. We see, when I see my Brentford, he's a bit more efficient for me because his numbers at Brentford are a bit more impressive most of the time. Sometimes he has some very good periods where he kind of is meeting his XG. This season, he's struggling a bit. But look, he's a good player. They are playing very well. They are making things happen. And like Safu said, it's not everything that will be counted in the shooting and that kind of stuff because he's played up top, he's played on the wing. So he has that versatility. He can do different things for the team depending on the scenario. We have the other striker, I hope I can pronounce this properly, Cedric Bakambu.
Yes.
Bakambu, yes. Who's also kind of misfiring a little bit. So you need someone like Wissa who can once in a while get the goals. They have different options, but look, Congo are another decent team. They've had their ups and downs in the tournament. They didn't win a group stage game, if I remember correctly.
Yep, they did not.
They kind of drew their 3 games. And that's the great part about this tournament. Like, because the third place teams qualify, sometimes a team can wake up in the knockout stage. When there's 2 teams qualify, if you sleep in the group stage, usually you go home. But when it's 3 teams qualifying, sometimes if you fall asleep, you can wake up and get things right. I think DRC have kind of woken up in the knockout rounds, to be honest. I think the penalty win over Egypt has kind of given them some confidence to go into the tournament. And playing against Ivory Coast, who on paper are the worst team left in the tournament, I believe it's a good matchup for them. That's why I said on paper. I used the keyword on paper. Yeah. On paper.
Okay, all right, interesting one there. Edwin, you wanted to highlight a few things about Yohan Wissa, who plays up top for DR Congo.
Yeah, he's been very efficient for the DRC, very important player for them. He scored a couple of goals, as we know. But unlike the previous player we discussed, Victor Osimhen, he's not going to be judged based on the goals he scores at the tournaments. Has he been efficient enough in putting his teammates in as well? Has he been a good enough creative force? And you might have to call me Mr. Decisions after this tournament because this is the impacts I'm talking about. Wissa is put through on goal. At this stage here, fine, going for goal seems like the perfect option.
Okay.
If you don't have a defender coming at you, what is the best option for him here? He could go for goal. There's no problem with going for goal as long as you put the ball in the back of the net. What is a more efficient way for your team to approach this? There's a pass right here on for him to make. That's another option for him. What decision does he take? He takes another touch, goes forward, taking this player out of it. But then another opportunity opens for him with 1, 2, 3 defenders on him. Another chance to make a pass opens up for him right here. He could easily slip in his teammates with a pass right here. Or if we take it a little further, it opens up a bit more for him right here. He could have passed his teammates, higher percentage shots for his teammate. He decides not to, and he eventually, his opportunity is saved by the goalkeeper quite easily. That is one moment, and this is the game against Tanzania, by the way, which they drew 0-0. This was a chance for DRC to score a goal.
A better decision, and could have 1-0. I mean,
DR Congo win the game. And it's been a constant throughout this tournament that he is in good positions. He gets into some wonderful positions, and he makes the wrong decisions. This is in the second half against Tanzania. He has the ball again, almost outside the box on an angle. Fine, he sees the goalkeeper out of his box. So if, as a forward in this position, you can decide to take the shot, lob the goalkeeper, and maybe you get a goal. But that's very difficult. That's a very hard skill to undertake. What can he do in this situation? He has Cedric Bakambu right here calling for the ball. He has defenders on him. Cedric Bakambu puts it on his right foot. He might be able to put it into the back of the net because there's a better angle for Bakambu, who is inside the box and can take the shot. He decides to go for goal himself. A very good effort, but it's saved. It's saved. Another chance for the DRC gone wasted. Could a better decision have been taken? Bakambu is obviously upset he didn't get the pass there. And yeah, that's another chance gone for DRC. There's one more that I would like to show.
Okay.
Where Wissa probably took the wrong decision. Maybe this one is the least of the three. But it's another moment where he could have taken a decision. Here is Wissa on the ball in the penalty box. Another chance for him to take a shot. But if we move it a little bit further, you can tell that as he's about to take the shot, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders whose attention is drawn to him. There's one player here for the DRC who is unmarked outside the box, who Wissa could easily pass to for a shot, while not being tackled by any of these defenders. Could he slide a pass through to other teammates? Yes, he definitely has the quality to do that. What does he do? He takes the shot, a very low percentage shot with so many markers. It goes over the bar. Yet another chance which has been spent by Wissa for the DRC when players were in better positions to score. Those were 3 possible goals he could have created, added to his assist tallies, and forgotten about the Egypt one that wasn't given to him. He can't afford not to make these passes in the semi-final they play against the Ivory Coast. Chances are going to come at a premium. They are going to be very limited. So once you have a better player in a better space, better opportunity to score, you find him. I think he's improved as the tournament has gone on. He's been making better decisions. That cross to Elia is one example of that for in the Egypt game in the round of 16. But it needs to be more consistent. Okay. You opt for the pass when the shot is not immediately apparent. You opt for the pass to your teammates in better positions.
And I just want to add something to what Edwin has been saying about Wissa's selfishness. He's taking the second most shots in the competition after Osimhen. So these are 2 players who are shooting a lot. But the one thing I'll say about Osimhen is a lot of his shots has been in the... He's had better opportunities because from the 19 shots, his XG is about 3. But Wissa's 16 shots, the XG is about 2. So you can see that Osimhen is getting better quality chances for his shots because that 3-shot difference and an XG of difference of about 1, shows that the chances are a bit better. So it goes into what Edwin is saying, that Wissa is taking some poor quality shots and he's not even putting them on target. 4 shots on target the whole tournament is not great. If you are going to be taking the most shots in the tournament, like put 40-50% on target, 25% is nowhere near good enough.
Okay, all right, Yohan Wissa not doing too well on the short side. Let's have a look at his teammate Cedric Bakambu. Played in Spain, went out to China, he's back. No goals at all, 7 shots, a non-penalty XG of 0.66. 3 big chances missed.
Missed the penalty.
Yes, against Morocco. I remember that was in the group stage. He has 1 assist though, but yeah. Those are his numbers, Safo.
They've not been impressive. The front line of Congo has not been impressive. If you look at the quality they possess, it's shocking that a player like Salas is always the one who has to come off from the bench to spark some life into it. But Kambu himself has not really been impressive. And like Edwin said, maybe sometimes when he finds himself in a better position he doesn't get fed. But you look at these statistics, and this one is not an eye test thing. Bakambu has not been impressive on the eye test and on the statistics.
And on the stat side.
He's the guy who was going to play a penalty and was just shivering and shaking. A player his quality shouldn't be having these numbers. But then you look at the games, and my question is always against the opposition they face, because when you face, if you are coming from a group with Zambia, I don't judge them by the Egypt game because that's actually like a step up in the notch of opposition. But you played Zambia, you played Morocco, and you played Tanzania. You played Tanzania. I think even with Morocco, it was a defender who got there.
Yes, Silas. It was Silas. Yeah. He came off the bench, and I remember.
And Silas is the same guy who came off the bench to impact the Guinea game too as well. So, I mean, I can't even compare this to the Nigerian forward, because at least with the Nigerian forward, there's some output, if not from Osimhen, from other striking department. This is very similar to the Ivorian forward.
If you were DR Congo, you are thinking about that semi-final, would you start Bakambu off the bench? Would you shuffle the attacking pack slightly?
Yes, I would start Bakambu off the bench. I think with that, you see, and that's a tricky thing, because sometimes players can be impact players off the bench. So maybe you wouldn't start Silas.
So you start Bakambu and make sure you have Silas as an option. Yeah.
My thing is, if, yes, they are misfiring, but if you have a statistic or you have a way of playing which has worked for you throughout, you just stick with it. And it's the Mapuka Derby. You don't have to. You don't have to mess it up, because whoever wins the Mapuka Derby. But I think
that's the fair. I've not heard that.
It's the Mapuka.
They're unique. We've had all kinds of.
I will on Gomba versus Mewe.
So we are going to have Amapiano versus Afrobeat. Now there's the Mapuka Derby. Wow.
I want to say about Bakambu. I believe he's a bit rusty. This is someone who's played, if you add up his minutes in the League and Champions League for Galatasaray, it's not up to 3 matches. And we're about halfway through the season. He's not played up to 3 matches in terms of minutes. He's coming off the bench. He scored 2 goals all season, about 12, 13 appearances, nearly all off the bench. He's not likely to be in good form. He's not fresh, He's had 1 start all season, So I feel like he's in a difficult position because he's not really as sharp as he should be in terms of match sharpness, which is probably why we are not really seeing his quality for Congo in this tournament. I believe that's one of the main reasons. He's just not sharp. And it's unfair to him because for when you're a nation where, a lot of your players are not playing as high as a level as him. When you have a player who's even on the bench at a club like that, you want to bring him into the team. But then he's also not as sharp. So you are looking at him and the lack of sharpness is glaring. So I believe that's what we are seeing here.
Okay, all right. We'll see what the Congolese will do in that game against Cote d'Ivoire that Kwame Safo has beautifully christened the Mapuka Derby. I don't even know what. I love that name. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about some of the other more productive forwards. Ademola Lookman. Whoever thought Ademola Lookman would be leading the scoring chart for Nigeria? 3 goals, 7 shots, a non-penalty XG of 1.70. Now, for those who are wondering what this non-penalty XG, all we are saying is that Ademola Lookman's expected goal haul, if you take out potential penalties, this is what you have left. 1 big chance missed. He has 1 assist. That assist came from the first game where he set up Victor Osimhen. And in the other games, it's been Osimhen and the others who have been finding him there. Edwin, let's talk a bit about Ademola Lookman. He is a very interesting player. Switched to Nigeria in 2022 after trying to break into England and it wasn't successful. at Fulham really didn't work. The most enduring image for me was missing that Panenka
A ridiculous.
at West Ham that I don't even know what he wanted to do. It didn't work. But he's reinvented himself, and at Atalanta, he's found good form, and he's brought that form to the AFCON. You know, and 3 goals. So I'll come to you in a bit there, but let's just see what Edwin has highlighted. Then we can talk about the numbers concerning Ademola Lookman.
Yeah.
But Edwin, you first.
You're absolutely right. He's been fantastic for Atlanta. He's brought that form, as you said, to the Nigerian team, and the goal scoring is fine. But what impresses me most about Ademola Lookman is his anticipation, his movement. So in this first game, I've already shown this clip, but I want to highlight him again. Fantastic. He doesn't even wait for Osimhen to win the ball. He's already on the move, hoping to feed off any chances. And of course, he does get the chance to get onto the ball. Fantastic movement from Ademola Lookman. He waits, bites his time, and he runs into the perfect position to get the ball from Osimhen. The finish is a bit iffy. Very lucky to have got the goal, but
Almost missed it.
obviously he did get the goal. And his second goal, we go to his second goal, and this was scored against Cameroon.
And is this against Angola?
Sorry, this.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's take the Angola goal first. But his movement impresses me. Moses Simon wins the ball, and he's immediately on his bike, making his way into the box. So he already has his hands up, asking for the ball from Moses Simon, and Moses Simon does well to wait and ensure he's in the right position.
Well, thumbs up to Osimhen, though.
Thumbs up to Osimhen to take the attention of a couple of defenders, but the movement from Ademola Lookman moves into the box as a proper winger should do, and this is what we've been calling for the Black Stars. Wingers know when exactly they need to switch from the wide side and run into the box, make themselves a supporting striker and an additional striker, provide more options to the other person who is putting the ball into the box. The next goal we are going to look at is the one against Cameroon finally. Brilliant movement. He takes the ball. He's not afraid to take on defenders, but he's not afraid to look for help as well. Finds Iwobi. And he decides to get into a position where there's no defenders. This is fantastic movement and anticipation. Any other player, after seeing the ball go out wide, he's not the tallest player. He's not going to be very effective in the high cross situation. He could have possibly moved out of the box and tried to regain possession, because what he knows is having the ball at his feet and trying to take on defenders. He decides to stay in the box because he understands that a lot of the players are going to be focused on Osimhen because he's the taller player, he's the threat in the air. He decides to create another option for the crosser Calvin Bassey to aim for. He gets onto the ball, and it's a very, very good finish from him. Maybe questions again about the goalkeeper, whether Ondoa could have done much better with that, but that was a very good finish from Ademola Lookman. So he scores goals, he is able to beat defenders, he gets into the right positions, and he anticipates attacks. And that is what you want from a winger, a player who anticipates and moves with that anticipation, a player who doesn't wait, he's not reactionary. He actually moves before the moves happen, and he provides an option for his teammates. And Nigeria are going to count on him very much for this semi-final, because South Africa are a very strong unit defensively.
Yeah.
They need players who are technically gifted, can take on defenders on their own, and provide options either on the wing or centrally in the box.
Interesting. So you were talking about, when we started mentioning Ademola Lookman, you were highlighting the fact that he had done well. Your own thoughts on his performance? I don't know, because going into this, I mean, I noticed that he was in good form for Atalanta, but never did I imagine that he would be this prolific. If 3 goals for Nigeria is prolific, then he's really done well in getting those goals, and those goals have been key in pushing the Super Eagles all the way to the last 4 of the tournament.
I mean, I'll just touch on Atalanta a little bit before. Last season, he was their top scorer. This season, he's their second top scorer. So he's found a place where he's consistently contributing. And Atalanta are not a bad team. They are regularly a top 8, top 6 team in Serie A. So he's not playing for a joke team, and he's contributing very positively. But when it came to this tournament, we all eyes on Osimhen. You know, it was very obvious that Osimhen was the man. We expected him to kind of lead the charge. But it looks like Lookman has kind of taken over, and he's gotten the goals when they needed him to, because you are playing Cameroon tight knockout game. You want someone who will deliver. He did that. So I believe we have to give him credit where credit is due. And it looks like all his goals have come in the knockout rounds, which is very key as well. Because remember, he also gets a goal against Angola to give them the win there as well. Yeah. So he's kind of what they call, as the basketball people call, he's coming up clutch when they need him to. And when we are talking about Osimhen misfiring, Osimhen is firing. You know, it was misfiring, and Lookman doesn't score these goals. Nigeria don't have any goals in the knockout rounds. That's how good he's been. But it's not just the goals, because he's second in the competition for chance creation and expected assists. So it's not like he's just scoring goals. He is creating chances, but we're talking about Osimhen not taking chances. So you have to understand why the assists are not higher, you know. So I think, look, he's a great player. He's found his home. He's contributing positively for his country. I think he's in a very good place in his career right now, and we have to be happy for him, because he is, if they win this tournament, they remember the fact that Lookman got them past Cameroon, he got them past Angola. And I would expect that if something happens for them against South Africa, it will be either him or Osimhen who makes something happen. Between the two of them, I believe that they are the game winners going into the South Africa game. So, look, he's a great player, and right now, he looks like one of the players of the tournament so far, for sure.
All right, Victor Osimhen coming in for some great praise. Finally, on him, Safuyo, so now it's become a double act, really. It's Osimhen and Lookman, and they are the ones who will potentially power Nigeria past South Africa, should it happen that way. Just your own thoughts on the two and what kind of damage they could cause the South Africans.
So, you see, one thing we are underestimating about his impact in Atalanta is Atalanta, for a very long period, had been very reliant on Duvan Zapata, Malinowski, and these kind of attacking players. And Ilicic. Yeah. And these players have faded off slightly. Zapata is no longer there. And for Lookman to, take up that mantle, it should have showed everybody the form he was in before coming back. I mean, that form was up against Africa's best player. So, and you see, as a player, that takes off the pressure from you. And one other thing is, his form he's having reminds me of the late Christian Achu's form he had in. There are just some tournaments. They are your tournaments. Yeah. Everything seems to come together for you, and it's like when you are performing that well and you are saving the team, it's also like free, because Asamoah Gyan was also in that tournament, but Gyan didn't score as much or deliver as much as Achu was delivering in that tournament. It's very, very similar to what Lookman and Osimhen are having, because at the end of the day, I think Lookman is delivering, but then it makes a very scary team, because now you are not talking about Moses Simon, who is the one creating some of these chances, and the three of that front three is working perfectly. Okay, Lookman is having let's not get it twisted. He's having a very, very good tournament. He's having a very terrific tournament, but most of it also comes from the quality of services he's getting. Look at the service Simon gave him against Angola. The service Bassey gave him to even pick him out as at the spot he was standing. The service Osimhen is giving. Look at the service Lookman himself gave Osimhen. So the three of them are working very well. And it's just like how last week I spoke about the telepathy in the South African team. There's that telepathy in the front three. It seems to be clicking. So in as much as Lookman is doing very well, I think the people around him are also helping, and that makes Nigeria a very dangerous team. All right, the Nigerians will take on South Africa in the last four of the AFCON. Let's talk about the South African forward line. The biggest win they had was a 4-0 win against Namibia, and players like Themba Zwane and co scored. But the chap we'll be focusing on is Evidence Makopa, and I love his first name, Evidence Makopa. Plays for Orlando Pirates, I believe, and he scored the first of two against Morocco in that particular encounter. Edwin Kakofi is on the task force. Edwin, you've picked out something about Evidence Makopa.
Yeah, he's not the biggest name in the South African team,
Yeah,
but
he isn't.
he's had a huge impact on their campaign so far, the AFCON.
For our viewers, in terms of numbers, 1 goal, 8 shots, non-penalty XG, 1.09, 1 big chance missed, 1 assist. Well, I mean, if you look at the quality of the goal he scored or the chance he took against Morocco, I can kind of understand why it's 1.09. That was a very, very, very good chance in the penalty box, slightly left.
Yeah.
I mean, if you score that's worth 1.09 in terms of the XG.
And look, his finishing might not be the very, very best, but what impresses me is the positions he takes in between defenders. He knows exactly who to target. He knows exactly where to stand, when to move for the ball. And holding your line as a number 9 is very important to any team. So he waits for his moment. He bides his time. He creates space. What he does here really smartly. And I'd like us to take a better look at it. The way he realizes there's not enough space initially between the two centre backs right here. So what he does is he moves back, basically pushing Roman size back as well, creating enough space for the pass to come through. And that's what he's been doing throughout this tournament. He moves back, Roman size moves with him. There's enough space for the pass to come through, and then he makes the opportunity to make the run.
That's very intelligent. It's very intelligent.
It's very
movement.
intelligent for.
And I like that because if you go back to the start of the sequence, that gap is very small. You can't thread the pass through. So he moves backwards. Of course, that forces Saiz to also move backwards to create enough space for him to challenge Magopa in case he gets the ball. And in doing that, it creates enough space for the pass to go through. And once he gets the ball in this position, remember he's right-footed. So this is a left-footed striker on an angle against probably one of the best goalkeepers in the world right now. And what does he do? He puts it in between his legs. First of all, that's a wonderful finish, by the way. It doesn't say much for the rest of his finishes at this tournament, but this in particular is very wonderful. And he has the dance moves to boot as well. Yeah, and I love this. I love this. I don't know whether is the hottest dance in South Africa.
One South African guy.
But you can tell.
But he always leads the celebrations.
But you can tell that when the goal went in, everybody they're just running.
This guy in the Kevin game, the same thing. The tall guy with the red boots. He's
boots,
never pleased, but he's always leading celebrations.
my producer asking if Edwin can demonstrate the dance.
I broke my but dancing would just bring that injury back. So
but I think that maybe we should. Maybe my producers are listening.
Go celebrate.
Yeah,
Kidi Aba, it reminds me of Kidi Aba. I really miss him when I see Congo.
When the competition is over, we are doing like a review. So we should review some of the top celebrations. This Makopa one should rank quite highly because they did it once. And they did it once, and they realized that they had this guy with the red boots. Oh man, interesting stuff. Let me get to the Zoom. Let me take Susu's thoughts. Susu, I'm sure in the South African forward march, I don't think Evidence Makopa's name would have emerged. Would have expected others, but Percy Tau and co. But it looks like he's a player who has played his way into contention. It looks like Hugo Bruce will be relying on him to recreate moments like these against the Moroccans if they will get to another AFCON final.
No, look, he started every game. And once you are starting every game, regardless of results, the coach trusts you. Because you lose the first game against Mali. They persist to do against Namibia. You get an assist. Okay, you didn't score. Tunisia, they give you the chance again. No goals in that game. You open the scoring against Morocco. You give your team a good platform because that goal opens the game up. Morocco put forward. Now it's easier for you to play on the counter than your teammate gets the clinching free kick. So I believe he's had a fairly good tournament, like we said. He's only at 23? He's a fairly young player. There's a lot of growth left for him. So, look, the South African team, again, is one of the more solid teams because apart from the Mali game, they've not considered this tournament. Yeah. So you need a striker who you give him a little something, he's going to get that goal for you. And that goal against Morocco, it was a good chance, but it wasn't a great chance. This is the type of chance that a lot of strikers will not be able to take. And to do it on your weaker foot is very impressive. So look, he's the type of striker you need when you're playing a defensive game because he knows his job, he does his job well, and he allows others to play the game. That's the type of striker he is. He's able to combine well with the team. And it's interesting because he's one of the few players who's not coming from Sundowns. There's a lot of Sundowns players in the team, and he's from Orlando Pirates. So it shows his kind of adaptability to kind of play with players who are a lot on the other team and kind of meld and mold and be part of the unit that's South Africa. Because South Africa's strength is their cohesion. That is what makes them so good. And that's why they move the ball so well. Because it's like these guys have played together for years. Like they know each other inside out. So he's playing very well. He's looking very good. But it's going to be a tough match, like we've said. The Nigerian defense is very tough. Nawalabi, is that how you pronounce it? I'm not, you know me, my name. Inwabili,
yes, the goalkeeper,
is looking great in the Nigerian goal. And like I said, he saved 90% of the shots he's faced so far. So he's not someone that is beaten easily from what we've seen. So it's going to take a lot to get that goal. So it will be interesting. But look, I expect a very low scoring game. I expect to see a 1-0, 2-0 at best kind of game. And someone like Lukman, Osimhen, and him, they are going to be the guys who really have to step up. But in terms of Makopa,
yes,
sorry, I'm struggling with the names. I'm struggling with. We should be doing a course. We should do a course where we do the names.
Yes, we should.
We have to practice more. But look, I expect him to have more of a game where he kind of occupies the defenders, maybe lays on a chance for his teammates, that kind of thing. That's the type of game I expect to see for him. I don't see him as the kind of throw the ball into the box at him and he'll deliver goals. No. He's not that type of striker. And we are seeing now in the world of football, a lot of strikers who are more that type of way. They kind of create the chances for others. They kind of create the space. And the wingers are the ones who are expected to do a lot of the scoring. So goal-scoring strikers are a bit rarer nowadays. Mm-hmm. But when you do have them, they are a good thing to have. But I expect a very good game. I think these are the two most practically solid sides in the competition. Yeah. In a way, it's a shame that they're not playing in the final for me because these are two very solid sides tactically.
Okay, all right. The South Africans will hope that Evidence Makopa can lead them to the final. In terms of numbers, he scored 5 in 17 across all competitions for Orlando Pirates this current football season. So that's something people can chew on. So far, at least we hope he scores so the dances come back.
But you see, I think this is what we got in. I think football is evolving, but back then, this was what a number 9 is supposed to do for you. Like, a number 9 might not have a great tournament. And let me great example, Alexandro Del Piero in the 2006 World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not getting the goals for Italy. Prior to that, he was the big shot. Even Inzaghi was coming on to get goals. But it's moments that define them. In that semi-final against Germany,
yeah.
All he just needed was a chance. You don't necessarily need to impose or impact. There are different variations of strikers and what they do. They are. That's like we highlighted Osimhen. He might not be scoring, but he's doing this. Mm-hmm. And a coach will trust a player like Makopa because they know what he is capable of if he is given the chance. All it takes is just that one moment. That was his moment, and he took it. And so that's what you get from these kind of number 9s and why they would always start, because they are not there to win fouls or there to win most touches in the boxes or there to be defensive attackers or whatever. They are just there to be that arrowhead that will get that one opportunity, because the movement of the ball movement, very intelligent. And Roman Saiz was trying to play the offside trap, trying his best, but that's a player who is aware of his surroundings and his senses, and he has a progressive midfielder who can also pick the passes and see his movement. And most of the time, this is what we talk about. Because if you have an attacker, what a midfielder is supposed to do is to be able to pick up his movement. So you would have a certain country I wouldn't mention who have attackers who are making runs and making movements. I tell you, if it was that country, they would have turned back and then passed or then tried to win a foul, and then that of the ball movement is gone to waste. So that's why a coach would trust a number 9. That's why you have number 9s in the team, and he's definitely going to start against Nigeria. No two ways about it. He said something because there were a lot of criticisms coming in from South Africa that he was not scoring enough and all of that. He replied that if you are not scoring, it doesn't mean like it's the end of the world. But as an attacker, the goal is to get goals, and that's what he gets when the opportunity comes.
Well, we hope evidence.
I just want to talk about add to what Safo said that even Olivier Giroud, when
the 2018 World Cup,
he didn't even have a shot on target, let alone a goal. So sometimes your role is to kind of help others be better. Sometimes your role is to improve that, because Griezmann was scoring, Mbappe was scoring. We had people come. Pogba scored here and there. So the midfield was able to get goals because Giroud was able to do his job. Giroud himself did not score. No goals, but he got his World Cup medal. He played his matches, got his World Cup medal, and everyone went home happy. So sometimes it's not all about, my striker is scoring. It's the team winning, yes or no. That's all that matters. So.
Okay, all right. We'll see what happens to Evidence Makopa and the rest of the South Africans as they get ready to play in that semi-final against Nigeria. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. The show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you are a punter and you want to win big, go to Bet Power. They've got the biggest odds, biggest winnings, biggest payouts, great games, and all of that for an all-round great betting experience. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we head into the final part of our show. We talk about penalties. There have been a good number of them, a good number of the shootouts. We'll discuss the numbers, trends, patterns, and psychology behind some of the penalty shootout wins and things we've seen in the competition. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. My guest, Edwin Kwakofi, Kwame Safo in studio. Both of them are in studio. And then Susu Graham on the Zoom. He's joining us from somewhere in the world. I will not tell you where exactly. It's show is probably brought to us by Bet Power for an all-round great betting experience. Log on to Bet Power's website, sign up, and enjoy all the goodies. All right, let's move on to a part of football that I have grown to love so much: penalty shootouts or penalty kicks. Now, for many years, lots of people had seen a kick from the spot past the goalkeeper as pure lottery. Pure luck. Hit it hard. If it goes in, it goes in. If you miss, you miss. You roll with the punches. But in the last 10 to 15 years or 20 years, people have begun to see that it is not just hit and hope. There's actually a method to everything that you can do. And you can walk into the penalty shootout armed with enough knowledge to potentially tilt the shootout in your favor. Now, the most recent AFCON shootout was that very interesting one between South Africa and Cape Verde, where Sundowns and South African goalkeeper Ronwen Williams was the star of the show. The star of the show. Now, before we even dive into the actual things, let's have a look at the numbers, the data, because like I said, there's a science to it, there's a method to it, there are things happening. Now, so this is really, we are just what's the term? Extrapolating data, just looking at the World Cup. So how often is each team's penalty, this is the World Cup, but in a tournament really, how are they scored? The first penalty is scored 75% of the time. Your second penalty is scored 73% of the time. Third penalty as well, so second and third, same frequency. Now the numbers start to drop a bit. Your fourth penalty, and that's a huge drop from 73 to 64. And then your fifth penalty, just around the same point. And then your sixth penalty is 50%. So when you are in the domain of the sixth penalty, we are in sudden death now. If you miss, you go home. So it looks like, because there's a lot of pressure, it weighs on the numbers. Now, now again, let's look at who's, like, in terms of the kicks, the first and second kicks. So your first kick is scored 73% of the time. Your second kick goes up 77%. And then the flow is there. The lowest, in terms of the numbers we've seen, are kicks 11 and 12. This is deep into sudden death. Deep into sudden death. If you have to travel
Nathan,
far.
Sorry, Nathan.
Yes, Susu?
Can I catch you? So this is actually more looking at the team. So
the teams, okay.
So Purple is, let's say, Ghana, and then Red is Ivory Coast. So
Okay.
the second there is the second team's first penalty.
Okay, second team's first penalty. Great, thank you for that correction. So, like you said, so all purples are for one team, and then the other colors
Yes.
are for the other team. So, like I said, as you travel deeper into sudden death, you start to see that the numbers start to drop. Now, I can give viewers a few examples. If 1992, right, that penalty shootout between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire ended 11-10. 11-10, which means that Ghana missed together 22 kicks were played, 21 were scored. So Ghana missed their 22nd, or Ghana missed the 22nd kick. It was Tony Bafu who missed the second time round. I can take you to AFCON 2006, right? Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon.
No, and Egypt.
I think it was it Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt? Somebody.
Yeah, final.
And I think the Ivorians, no, it was Cameroon. Cameroon
In the semi-final.
In the semis, I think. The kicks went all the way round. I think it was Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon. I'm not too sure. But Samuel Eto'o missed the second time he had to play his penalty. You know, so there you have it. So let's look at the conversion rates there in terms of where do you have to put your penalty. Again, we are extrapolating that from the World Cup, right? But again, this can pass for your average penalty taking number. So we know extreme corners. So if the kicker's left, if you stand, the kicker's left is a very, very good place, 100%, 10 of 10. Next to that box, 8 out of 8. Next to that one, 8 out of 8. Next to that one, 4 out of 4. Next to that one, 5 out of 5. And you can call that the Frank Kessié zone because that's where he kind of put that one, either that or the 4 out of 4. And then, so the top parts of a goal, very profitable areas, but very risky areas as well. Now you come to the middle band of a goal post, the extreme ends, so the kicker's left, 94% if you like, the kicker's extreme right, 73%, and then the zones in the middle, varying degrees of success, okay? Now, you can call it the inside left position. So if you move from the kicker's left, and then you come to the immediate box, that is only 48%, 6 of 13. And you can understand why. That zone, you can understand, because if a goalkeeper stretches their hand with the least effort, that is where they are getting to. So, and then you can see all the others there. Very, very interesting zones.
I just want to point out something about the 6 out of 13 zone.
Yes, so go ahead.
That's usually where people who are not really regular penalty takers tend to put it, because most players on the pitch are right-footed. So you go into the penalty, the way they wrap their foot around, they kind of moves a bit to their left, but there's not a lot of conviction, so it's not going to the corner, you see. So that's why if you look at the kind of the keeper's right, because the penalty takers, a lot of them put it there. That's where a lot of the saves are made. But if you notice, on the left-hand side, a more kind of convinced penalty taker, the keeper will kind of dive that way. They kind of just slot to the other side. Or is there more natural side for left-footed players who are not as common? So you can even see the numbers. If you look at the numbers, the keeper's right, there's a lot more penalties going there than the shooter's right. The shooter's left has more penalties going there than the shooter's right because of the number of right-footed players. So you can see that that's usually where keepers save it. That's kind of 6 out of 13 zone. And if you even look at the Cape Verde penalties, a few were kind of in that area. They weren't so in the corner, but there were a few in that kind of area. And the keepers and Rowan Williams was able to get to them because that's the easier side. And I think even 2008, Anelka put his penalty right in that zone, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So
it's not a good place to put your penalty because the keeper doesn't have to throw his body fully. If his hand is up, he can still get it. So but people don't take a lot of penalties. That's where they want to put it because they want to be safe. They want to put it on target. They're afraid of playing it over the bar or something like that. So that's what you have to keep in mind. A lot of players tend to go there for that safety.
Interesting stuff there. So for our viewers, so those are just great. I mean, the other day we looked at that. So just to give you an idea, when we say that penalties are no longer a lottery, because the science has even demarcated where you can put certain penalties where goalkeepers will not have a chance. So if it makes you think about The Black Stars.
You know, this morning when I was coming, I was thinking about how Jordan Ayew takes his penalties. And you see, they are kind, in as much as there's this science. Last week, I was here giving like, as a goalkeeper, before you dive, move at least a direction. Then Ron Williams proves me wrong. Because if you watch his penalty, he doesn't take any that. He's so certain where he's going that Bebe, if you watch Bebe's first kick, Bebe stops thinking he knows where he's going. I look at these kicks, and you see they say high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Because the spots that give you the 100 are mostly what you call the top corner.
Yes.
If you don't take a wall, you are hitting the ball. So with penalties, there's a lot that goes in. Goalkeepers, types of players, and how types of players like to kick their balls. As a goalkeeper, whether you are diving early, whether you are staying, whether you are trying to do the panenka, a lot of it goes into a penalty shootout. But one thing I have realized, and looking at Jordan, is he looks at the goalkeeper.
Okay.
He's always going to make sure that. And when Cote d'Ivoire, where Ghana got the penalty, I was very close to see how he kicked it. He looks at the goalkeeper, tries to get the goalkeeper to commit. It's more of like a Jorginho thing without the jumping.
It's called the goalkeeper dependent method.
Exactly. So, but then I look at a goalkeeper like Ron Williams. If Jordan is taking a penalty against a goalkeeper like Ron Williams, it's going to be very hard because he doesn't flinch. And I think that comes because that's why you have a technical team, you have backroom staff, you have the leopards, those people, they are supposed to do this kind of research. Because I'm thinking, when Chelsea faced Bayern Munich, Peter Cech had a story he used to tell that before going, when they were on the flight, as a goalkeeper, you've done all your training, you've done everything.
Yeah.
What he spent time doing was, they were able to extrapolate data from each and every Bayern kicker and where they like to take their penalties. So the first kick, I think Mata was given that this is Neuer's weaker side, so kick it to that side, and something happened and he changed his mind, and Mata missed the first penalty. So these things go a lot to show that as a goalkeeper, this is a player's favorite side. There's a high chance he's going to kick it there, so you dive there. That's what Ron Williams is, and I was telling you guys this before the camera. If you can go back to the game right before the penalty kick, he was talking to Hugo Bruce, and he said, "Which one is to my left?" And he said, "The number 6." I really wish we could have gotten that. That's why when he scored, he just went straight to the coach because they have worked on it.
What fascinates me is where the South Africans probably found.
And that I can't.
You get it, like goalkeeping kicks or penalty taking kicks, or penalty kicks of the Cape Verde. It's not like
it's easy data or something. Because some of them, like, where are you going to find Dominguez or where are you going to find that?
Nathan, that's the kind of thing you spend $100,000 on. That's if you want to be successful at tournaments. You don't spend it on people who just go and sit down and watch matches. You spend it on analysts, scouts, people who actually go to games, who can go through data, get all the video footage you need of those specific players, and find out where exactly they put their penalties. It's not an easy job, but if you have
to go to what Edwin was saying, all of these stats websites, they have premium versions. You go to Opta. They have their price list. You go to
you can find all of that.
If you want serious data, you have to pay. It's not going on FB Ref like some like you're just there. You have to go for you have to pay because you are in a business of making. You have money you are supposed to use to win a tournament. So if you are going to pay, and those start sites, they are not anything that if you have $100,000, you can probably sign up to every start site for 1 year and have like $90,000 left over. Seriously, because they have pricing for individual analysts. Individual analysts who are sitting in their house are spending $10,000 a year just on websites. Probably not.
I mean, of course, you're right. So, they don't cost an arm and a leg. They are very.
They don't cost an arm and a leg, honestly. So it's really, if you really want to, you find it, and that's preparation. And going back to what Safu said, because of the keeper dependent method, the moment the keeper flinches, he's lost. That's what won Jordan those 2 penalties. Because the moment the keeper moved his body a certain way, he was finished. Because you can't change your direction. If you try and change your direction, you probably tear your ACL or something. Your body can't just change direction like that. So the moment the guy flinches, Jordan will put it to the other side. But when you have everyone Williams who doesn't move, that's slowing down. You've killed yourself, because now it means that you won't get enough power.
Yeah.
So when you try and put it, it's just easy for him to just watch it, dive to the side, and he's got you. So it's really the keeper dependent. It works because most keepers don't want to look stupid. They will move.
So they will move.
Because you kind of have to dive before the ball is shot to have a chance of getting it if the person is going to kick it hard. But if the person is going to kick it softly, you don't need to dive. That's knowing who you are going against. Okay. All of that is research.
All right, Edwin, just run us through. Safo, just a quick point.
Just a very quick point. I don't know if you remember Ghana-Uruguay. During the penalty shootout, the Uruguay winning kick was a Panenka.
Yeah.
And funnily enough,
Panenka's every penalty.
Yes, the backroom staff did a poor job.
You don't need to research. The guy.
Anybody who watches Abreu knows that's what he does. He does the scoop penalty.
But we didn't do that research.
Well, he does it every match, every time. Honestly, the fact that we let that in is
criminal.
Anyway, it's okay.
Edwin, just run us through some of the things you observed during the shootout. South Africa, Cape Verde.
Yes, South Africa, Cape Verde. But before that, a few things to note when you are taking a penalty. Usually the team that kicks first wins the penalty. So, yes, 60% of the time.
I just want to say, it's kick first and scores. If you kick first and miss.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you kick first and miss.
And one thing as well, goalkeepers who wear red usually.
That's the part I was waiting for.
Goalkeepers
in red.
So this is the first penalty.
So I'm just asking, so can I start like with white and then later change
to yellow, red?
Because,
it's not allowed.
So I have to wear red and pray that the game goes to a shootout so that the red color can help another 10%.
I'm sure South Africa listened to our show last week because I don't know why their keeper was in red.
Okay, so first penalty for Cape Verde, I think it's Bebe who is taking this penalty. He stares down the goalkeeper, which usually is good, but the penalty was not. If you are going down low to the corner, make sure it's in the corner. If it's slightly to the middle, you give the goalkeeper a good chance to save it. And obviously, South Africa had done the analysis. Look, he hits it almost.
This is amazing from because you can't even tell. It was
just below the 40%.
Just below the 40%. So once you hit your penalty,
Williams already starts to drift.
He almost jumps over the ball.
You can tell he starts to go there even before. As the player is approaching, he's already leaning, and then he jumps.
A player like Bebe, it's not difficult to get statistics on him. That's where he plays. He's been playing football for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah. So we go to the second penalty. There are lots. If you are a player taking a penalty, so many things.
But just again, it's great research because how do you even know which 5 will kick? And now you have to remember each and every one. I see that.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's why
Gabaski, do you remember last AFCON, the water bottle?
Saying.
You have to write it down. That's why, even if you remember, there was, I think, the Argentina-Germany penalty shootout in 2006.
Yeah.
Was it Lehmann?
Yes, Lehmann. He had everything out on this sheet of paper hidden in his shorts.
Yes. Yeah. So you have to write it down.
So
and you have
goalkeepers
to be
usually carry these things around. Tim Krul does it a lot. He writes it on his water bottles, and he's a fantastic penalty saver. If you are taking a penalty, as I've said several times, you are twice as likely to save penalties as a goalkeeper if you stay in the middle.
Yeah.
And players usually go for the middle. They go high. This is what this penalty taker does. Goes high in the middle. The goalkeeper moves because he doesn't want to look stupid, and the goal is scored. We go to the South Africa's Cape Verde's second penalty right here. Another thing to note about penalties, you do not take it the moment the referee whistles. Yes. Give yourself some breathing time to assess your options. You know where you're going to take a huge breath there. That was a sign of very low confidence. Once you take such a huge breath, you immediately put it in the goalkeeper's mind that this player is nervous.
To add to what Edwin is saying, after a miss, your player is also more likely to miss because there's psychology. Now the pressure is doubled on him, which is why the first penalty is so important to score, because when you miss the first penalty, the next person, he feels like he's playing catch up, especially if, like South Africa did, they've scored. Now you are playing catch up, like, hey, if I also miss, we are really dead. He's not coming into it with a confidence, sense of what is the penalty is coming to take. Because, funnily enough, when you are about to play a penalty that will win you the shootout, for some reason, the percentage of your chance of winning go up to 90 because there's this confidence that the work has been done. Yeah. All I have to do is just score this penalty and we are going. Good. So the guy missing before you kind of puts pressure on the penalty taker and makes him even less confident. So this might be someone who, for his club, he takes a lot of penalties, but suddenly he's like, this has now become the most important penalty of my life. I need to score this so that we can stay in the game. So it's a really unfortunate situation. I think Williams saving the first one puts them in such a good situation. And I think there's an interview with Emi Martinez where he kind of talks about the psychology of what he does with penalties and that kind of stuff. And that is part of it. Trying to save the first one is so key because you put pressure on every taker after.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Edwin, you were highlighting another one of the kicks that were...
Yeah, so we go to South Africa's third penalty.
Okay. So at this point, South Africa had scored one, had missed one.
Had missed one.
Okay.
So scoring this would give them an opportunity. First of all, you need to pick your spot and stick to it. I think if obviously the research determines where the player usually goes.
But poor penalty.
Yes,
such a poor penalty.
Your kick needs to be quality too. You can't just kick it straight down the middle with very little power or not too far to the right and expect the goalkeeper not to save it. This is another indication of trying to go down the middle, but not too straight down the middle.
This is a very allowing the horrible penalty. Really sad penalty.
The risk with taking penalty straight down the middle and low is that the goalkeeper can use their legs to save it. That's why players usually go high when they go down the middle.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. So at this point, South Africa had missed two. I think the Cape Verdeans had also missed two. Yeah. Okay, so this is Teixeira Jr.
Teixeira Jr.
who was about to take his kick. And at this point, you could tell that the Cape Verdeans were now getting into nervous territory.
Yes,
because they needed to stay. They needed to stay.
And once you see your teammates miss, there's a lot of nervousness that is transferred to you, the penalty taker. You tend to assess your options, wonder whether you should change where you initially went to go.
Okay.
And of course, he sticks to his move. He goes right.
Yes.
Ron Williams gets the direction right. He just couldn't save it because there's a lot of power. This is where this one zone where
Kawe wins.
Yeah, this is one zone where players usually score. It's high to the top near the corner. Goalkeepers struggle to save it. Even those that get close get a touch on the ball, it usually ends up in the back of the net because it's very difficult to get to. So that's Cape Verde scoring their fourth penalty. Now we get to South Africa's fourth penalty.
And you see, I think the South Africans were really, their kicks were poor. This penalty is an example. You see, when they are low, when he scored, but when you are low in confidence, I felt like they just wanted to be safe. So we got to a point, most of the kicks were just down the middle. Because they
just were not confident.
They were not confident. They knew the keeper might dive. Because even the poorly missed one, if he had put it a little bit up, it might still have entered into the net. If I was the Cape Verdean goalkeeper, I'm not moving. I'm not moving a single step.
So one thing that is usually said after successful penalties is that you celebrate.
Yeah.
Celebrate. Usually the kicker who plays after a player who scored and celebrates, there's a high chance you're going to miss because just seeing your opponent celebrate puts you in a really tense position. So let's jump all the way to Cape Verde's final penalty. You score this, you are out. You miss this, you are out. You score
this, you stay.
When there's a lot of pressure on players to score, otherwise they are out, they tend to miss their penalties. There's a higher success rate when you are playing the last penalty to win the penalty shootout for your team. It's just the pressure, the tension gets to you, and the techniques are all over the place. It leads to more misses or more goalkeeper saves in such a position. And unfortunate for him, but He was the last man.
Safo, this was the number
This
6.
is the number 6 he was talking about.
Williams was
I
asking
really
the
wish we
coach
could get that video.
where he should put the ball. And then he
Six
says,
is to my left.
to my left. And then he dives.
Dives
Very, very
right
strong dive.
And there's one thing about Williams. You see, as compared to Emi Martinez, after he makes a save, he's in your face. Williams never celebrated till he made sure that the job was done.
And the different goalkeepers interpret.
But see, Martinez's own is he's using psychology. Because if you remember with Tchouaméni, he picked up the ball and threw it and did all sorts of things. He explained that he wants the penalty taker to feel like the penalty taker is coming to his house, so that he's in control of the whole area. So it's like to create more tension, put more pressure on the player, make them have to think longer, which is why he throws the ball away. So Tchouaméni has to now go and collect it. As he's walking, he's thinking all of those things. So that's his thing. He's trying to make the person less confident in what they are trying to do. And less confident means less likely to go for a corner.
Okay.
So that's the psychology that Martinez is trying to do. I have to be honest, I'm not a fan of his antics, but I completely understand the point. Like, I can see, once he explained what he's trying to do, I said, fair enough. Not something I really like, but I understand what he's trying to do, and it works for him. So we have to just appreciate his genius in his own way. So we have to appreciate it.
All right. For Ronwen Williams, he decides to keep it calm and cool and celebrate only when the job is done. Let's see if South Africa can survive another penalty shootout. Should they get in there when they play in the semis?
Just want to say,
against
the way they are taking their penalties, I'm afraid for them. I feel like Williams will do his job, but the penalties they themselves were taking were not very convincing.
Okay, all right, Susu. Thank you so much out there. Let me thank my guest, Kwame Safo in studio, Edwin Kwakofi on the touchpad. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Nathan Kwasho, brought to us by Bet Power. We are back tomorrow with another exciting episode of the AFCON Daily Show, where we'll zone in on the semi-finals and figure out who will make it to the final that will be played over the weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep watching Citi TV.